Before going to Japan, there's many things that we need to think about when it comes to verbal and nonverbal communication with Japanese. In American culture, we primarily rely on verbal communication, and we also receive lots of training at work and at school to become better speakers and presenters. Japanese culture, on the other hand, relies more on nonverbal forms of communication, such as their body language, gestures, facial expressions, the tone of their voice, and even the posture. They also use non-word sounds. A sound they would use would be such as hissing. This sound would be used when something they hear is unappealing to them. They also use silent communication through their intuition. This is known as ha-ra-ji. Nonverbal communication has been very successful among the Japanese. This is due to the shared background of information that they have. This style is described as iki-ibi ju wakaru, which means you hear one, understand 10. The meaning of this is if a person speaks 10%, it's assumed that the listener is able to figure out the other 90%. This is done by nonverbal communication and the shared context. When Americans and Japanese communicate, the Americans need to ask questions, like follow-up questions, such as what was said or questions that you don't understand. Otherwise, in the Japanese culture, this will assume that you've understood everything that was said. Japanese tend to trust nonverbal messages more than verbal communication. An example is if a person is frowning while the speaker is talking, that's a sign of not agreeing or understanding. Nonverbal communication is so important that books have even been created for the foreigners, such as us, to be able to interpret their signs. Unlike American culture, eye contact is very frowned upon, and it can even be considered rude or intruding. When making conversation, make minimal eye contact. Don't stare. Also, posture is important because it shows that you are attentive and being respectful. In Japanese culture, we want to remember not to point, even if it's at an inanimate object, as this is a sign of leading the way, like a direction. To become an active listener and to be able to read body language is the key